We are back again in Geneva, Kane County, Illinois, along the Fox River Trail and with the Fox River directly behind us. This time we're here to explore the incidents and accidents associated with the Geneva Spur of the Chicago, Aurora, and Elgin Railway.
The primary source of information on these accidents comes from reports in local newspapers in Northeast Illinois, contemporary with the operation of the Geneva Spur. Careful review of these reports produced a considerable amount of information, which was then supplemented with census records, grave records, and vital records from the time period.
Although the Geneva Spur was among the shortest of the branches, with 11 stops, and was amongst the most short-lived, having been in operation for 28 years, starting in 1909, the Geneva Spur nonetheless had its share of accidents and incidents, some with tragic consequences. And we'll explore just some of those stories in this video.
We'll start our journey at the Kirk Road stop. This was a flag stop located 1.5 miles east of the Geneva terminal and was the third stop on the Geneva to Wheaton route. Unlike the busy road we see today, during the operation of the Geneva Spur, Kirk Road was a quiet, rural, tree-lined lane.
On January 27, 1922, a CA&E train that originated in St. Charles along the Geneva Spur was speeding along eastward, heading towards Wheaton and Chicago, when it ran into an open switch just behind us here to the south of the tracks. It went along the siding, then jumped the tracks and sped along the ground, rolling over before coming to a stop. Passengers were hurled from their seats, with many cut by the flying broken glass. Of the 20 or so passengers on the train, 14 were said to be injured by the accident, with some taken to the nearby Hospital in Geneva. Nonetheless, once the train was restored to the rails, the train, along with most of its passengers, completed the journey to the east.
Just a couple years later, on the morning of July 8, 1924, 63-year-old dairy farmer Julius Miller was heading home, driving north along Kirk Road, when his Ford Coupe was hit by a westbound CA&E train at the train crossing. Miller's automobile was completely destroyed. A patch of trees along the roadway apparently obscured Miller's view of the oncoming train, although the motorman is said to have blown the whistle and applied the brakes. Miller was brought to Colonial Hospital in Geneva, where he died an hour later from his multiple injuries.
The section of track on the Geneva Spur between West Chicago Station to the west of us and the High Lake Station to the east of us was the site of multiple accidents over the years. One of the first was in early September of 1910, when 87-year-old Michael Conway, a native of Ireland, a singer of Irish songs, and a longtime resident, was struck and killed when he was attempting to cross in front of an AE&C train right behind us here along Main Street. The train was traveling westbound at about 25 miles per hour. Conway's farm on the east edge of West Chicago was split by the AE&C railway line, and at the time of the accident, he was running across the track after retrieving a shovel. In the very late evening of January 12, 1935, 36-year-old DuPage County Sheriff's Deputy Edward Smokey Lang decided to take a shortcut on his drive home by taking the Geneva right-of-way, which some of the more adventurous locals would do, especially it was not a heavily used line. And they would take the trackway from Prince Crossing or High Lake Road immediately behind us here, heading in that direction to the side streets that lay to the east. Deputy Lang managed to go about 1/5 of a mile east along the trackway from High Lake Road, not too far from the High Lake station, before his car stalled and the battery died. Then at about 1 a.m., while attempting to fix his car, a CA&E train bore down on him from the west. Before he was able to get out of the way, both he and his non-operational automobile were struck. The wrecked automobile was carried by the train more than 100 feet down the trackway. Lang was found unconscious along the line and was taken to the Geneva hospital, suffering from a fractured skull, a broken nose, and broken ribs, but he fortunately survived the accident.
On the morning of Monday, June 8, 1914, 26-year-old AE&C electrician Clyde Ashcraft was working on the high voltage wires atop a utility pole between the High Lake station and the Winfield Road station when he was suddenly electrocuted and killed. His co-workers heard a sharp cry from him a moment before his body quivered and then fell 30 feet to the ground. Ashcraft, who hailed from DeKalb County to the west, was newly married at the time of the accident. The Winfield Road station was located along what is known today as County Farm Road in Winfield, Illinois. This too was another quiet country road during the years the CA&E was in existence. And the station itself was a small wooden structure located on the east side of the road. On November 29, 1913, 31-year-old affluent farmer Peter Schramer was killed when crossing on foot in front of a train by his home in front of the Winfield station. He had apparently just gotten off the train and hoped to dart across the tracks ahead of the train's departure, but he underestimated the train's rapid acceleration. Ironically, Peter Schramer was the nephew of the landowner Thomas Schramer, from whom the AE&C took the name Schramer Road Station, before it was later changed to St. Andrews. Peter Schramer was said to have left an estate valued at $300,000, or over $4 million in today's money.
Geneva Junction was the last stop on the Geneva Spur. It was the jumping off point where travelers could disembark and transfer to the Elgin line heading to the northwest, or stay on the line to head towards Wheaton and Chicago to the east, or head west back towards Geneva. The junction itself was an unstaffed, modest wooden building about 8 feet by 8 feet in dimension and stood right behind me here. The platform was either a wooden or cinder platform at various times. Today, the location is ensconced in the middle of suburbia, but back then it was a lonely and remote outpost in the middle of cornfields.
Late in the evening of March 9, 1910, 3 men attacked and robbed 39-year-old Sam Pigeon, a Russian-born merchant from St. Charles, Illinois. Pigeon had been returning from Chicago and had gotten off an Elgin-bound train and was waiting for the train to Geneva, which would take him to his home in St. Charles. As he waited, 3 men stepped out of the shadows and robbed him of over $300, or almost $5,000 in today's money, plus a gold watch, breaking his leg in the process and leaving him for dead in the modest wooden Geneva Junction station.
Several months later, in the early evening of October 24, 1910, 27-year-old Wheaton schoolteacher Retta B. Kuhn was attacked and robbed by a lone man at the Geneva Junction while waiting for a train to West Chicago. Her assailant choked her and threw her to the ground, stealing $5, or about $75 in 2020 money, from her purse. The AE&C then sent their chief railway engineer, Charles Jones, who resided in nearby Wheaton, to see the young woman safely home. Ms. Kuhn also happened to be the daughter of the Republican nominee for county sheriff at the time of the robbery.
This ends our journey of the accidents and tragedies on the Geneva Spur of the CA&E. We hope that you found this to be of interest, as it brings a human side to the railway that brought the positive benefits of trade and transportation to the communities it served. But it also brought the pain of injury and death to a number of employees, passengers, and local residents.
If there is ongoing interest in this topic, we will continue to explore this sobering aspect of the Chicago, Aurora, and Elgin Railway, as there are many other stories along the other branches of the railway. Till then, please like, subscribe, share, and comment, as we'd love to hear from you.